welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at an academic paper called An Awesome Woman, Wisdom and the Fear of the Lord in the Book of Proverbs.
Sounds fascinating.
It is. So get ready to discover some interesting insights into the concept of wisdom as presented in Proverbs.
Okay.
Particularly its relationship with justice, righteousness, love, and the fear of the Lord.
All right.
Now, right off the bat, this paper highlights how Proverbs personifies wisdom as a woman, someone to be pursued and loved and cherished. I'm curious about how this differs from other philosophical traditions. What makes this personification so unique?
Well, it's a striking contrast to how, say, the Greek philosophers viewed wisdom.
Okay.
For them, it was more about logic and reason, a philosophical ideal to be studied and contemplated.
Right.
But Proverbs, on the other hand, presents a much more personal and relational approach.
So instead of just studying wisdom, we're invited to engage in a relationship with it.
Exactly. And that's where the beauty of this personification lies. It makes wisdom more accessible and relatable. It's not just an abstract concept, but a vibrant force we can interact with.
I'm starting to see how that shifts the whole dynamic.
Right.
It's less about passively acquiring knowledge and more about actively seeking and embracing wisdom in our lives.
Precisely. And the paper draws a fascinating parallel between this personified wisdom and the good wife, described in Proverbs 31. Both are portrayed as valuable figures, working diligently, speaking wisely, and bringing life to those around them.
But wouldn't that imply that wisdom is exclusively a feminine quality? Couldn't that be seen as limiting?
That's a valid concern. However, it's important to remember that this is poetic imagery, not a literal definition.
Right.
The point is to highlight the attractive and life-giving nature of wisdom,
Okay.
using a metaphor that would have resonated with the original audience.
Okay, so it's not about gender,
Right.
but about portraying wisdom as something desirable and worth pursuing.
And speaking of desirable qualities,
The paper also emphasizes how justice, righteousness, and equity are inseparable from wisdom, almost like they're her siblings.
absolutely. The text makes it clear that true wisdom can't exist in isolation. You can't be wise while also being unjust or unrighteous.
Right.
These virtues are essential components of a wise life.
It's like they're interwoven into the fabric of wisdom.
Yes.
And I'm noticing how those qualities have a strong social dimension. Proverbs even provides specific examples of injustices to avoid, like withholding help,
Yes.
plotting against your neighbor, or picking fights without a good reason.
That's right. Wisdom isn't just about personal enlightenment. It has a direct impact on how we treat others and act within our communities.
So it's about living out these virtues in our relationships and actions.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just know what's right. We have to put it into practice.
Exactly. And this is where the idea of wisdom's public nature comes in. She's not some hidden figure. She's out in the open, calling out for all to hear.
Yes. The paper points out how she's found in the marketplace, on the streets, even at the city gates,
Right.
inviting everyone to seek her out.
It's a powerful image of accessibility and inclusivity. Wisdom isn't reserved for the elite or the privileged. It's a gift freely offered to all who are willing to pursue it.
And speaking of pursuing wisdom, the paper really emphasizes the active role we need to take. It even uses the language of love and courtship to describe our relationship with wisdom.
You see that beautifully illustrated in passages like Proverbs 3.1318 and 4.69. Wisdom is described as more precious than jewels, bringing riches, honor, pleasantness, and peace.
I love those descriptions. It makes wisdom sound so captivating and rewarding, almost like a treasure to be discovered.
And that's precisely the point.
Okay.
The pursuit of wisdom is presented as a journey of discovery, a passionate pursuit that yields incredible rewards.
It's clear that Proverbs isn't advocating for a passive or detached approach.
Right.
We need to actively seek, embrace, and even hold fast to wisdom, just as we would in a committed relationship.
Exactly. And this brings us to another fascinating element of wisdom in Proverbs, the fear of the Lord. Now, before you get the wrong idea, it's not about cowering in terror.
I was just thinking that. Fear doesn't exactly sound like a recipe for wisdom.
Right. So when Proverbs talks about the fear of the Lord, it's not about being scared. It's more about approaching God with awe, reverence, and humility.
So it's less about trembling before a judge and more about standing in awe of something much greater than ourselves.
That's a great way to put it. It's that feeling you get when you witness something truly magnificent and awe-inspiring, like a vast starry sky or the power of nature.
I remember that incredible passage in Proverbs 8.2231 where wisdom herself describes being present at the creation of the cosmos.
It's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
It connects wisdom to the very foundation of existence, highlighting its profound depth and significance.
It almost reminds me of the Book of Job, where Job encounters the vastness of creation and realizes the limitations of his own understanding.
Yes. Both Job and Proverbs invite us to acknowledge something greater than ourselves,
Okay.
to approach life with a sense of wonder and humility.
So this fear of the Lord, this
Yeah.
awe and humility seems to be a crucial foundation for wisdom. It helps us see the world in a new light
It certainly does.
and approach life with a different perspective.
And that shift in perspective can have a profound impact on how we act and make choices.
That makes me think about the midwives in Exodus who, out of their fear of God, defied the Pharaoh and saved the lives of the Hebrew babies.
That's a powerful example of how awe and reverence can inspire courageous action. It's not just about passive contemplation. It's about aligning our actions with our understanding of what is right. And, that connection between awe and action, it's really interesting because the paper also introduces this concept of the numinous. It's from Rudolf Otto.
Oh, yes. I remember reading about that.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's always been a bit of a head scratcher for me.
Well, Otto described the numinous as that experience of encountering something divine or supernatural
Okay.
that evokes both a sense of awe and wonder, but also a sense of mystery and even dread.
So it's more than just simple amazement. There's
Yeah.
a sense of the unknown, the
Right.
otherworldly,
Yeah.
that's both fascinating and a bit unsettling.
Exactly. It's like standing on the edge of a vast ocean or gazing up at a night sky filled with countless stars.
Mm.
It fills you with awe and wonder, but also a sense of your own smallness
Yeah.
and the vastness of what lies beyond your understanding.
And the paper suggests that cultivating wisdom allows us to experience more of life through this lens of the numinous.
That's right. It's about opening ourselves up to the mystery and wonder that surrounds us,
Yeah.
whether we're contemplating the cosmos, appreciating a work of art, or simply connecting with another human being.
That's beautiful. It's about finding that sense of awe in the everyday,
Right.
not just in extraordinary experiences.
And what's really fascinating is that this idea of the numinous isn't limited to people who believe in God. Whether you're a theist, an atheist, or somewhere in between, there are countless things in the cosmos that can evoke that sense of awe and wonder.
So it's really about cultivating a certain kind of attentiveness,
Yeah.
a willingness to be moved by the mystery and beauty of the world around us, regardless of our personal beliefs.
Precisely. And that brings us to another crucial point that the paper makes. The link between the fear of the Lord and the hatred of evil.
Ah, yes, that line from Proverbs, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil. It's always struck me as such a powerful statement.
It is, and it reinforces that wisdom isn't simply about gaining knowledge or having good intentions.
Right.
It's about actively rejecting what is harmful and destructive, both in ourselves and in the world around us.
So it's not enough to just know what's right.
Yeah,
We have to actively oppose what's wrong.
right.
It's about aligning our actions with our understanding of what is good and true.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the idea of humility, which the paper highlights as a key element of wisdom.
Right. We talked about humility earlier in the context of awe, but it seems like it plays a much broader role in the pursuit of wisdom.
It absolutely does. Humility allows us to acknowledge our own limitations, to be open to learning from others, and to approach life with a sense of curiosity rather than arrogance.
And the paper even quotes Henri Blocher, who suggests that the fear of the Lord invites the wise to a certain kind of modesty. It's about recognizing the boundaries of our own understanding and admitting that we don't have all the answers.
It reminds me of that quote, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing."
That's a good one. It highlights how humility is essential for growth and understanding. It allows us to approach life as a lifelong learner, always open to new perspectives and willing to admit when we're wrong.
And that's so important.
So humility isn't about putting ourselves down or denying our strengths.
Right.
It's about being honest about our limitations and being willing to learn and grow.
Absolutely. And this is where the paper brings us back to that beautiful personification of wisdom as a woman.
Right.
It argues that both the virtuous woman of Proverbs 31 and Dame Wisdom at the beginning of the book embodies this crucial virtue of humility alongside their fear of the Lord.
That's a great point. So the very figures who represent wisdom are also those who exemplify humility and reverence before something greater than themselves. It's like they're showing us that true wisdom requires a certain kind of surrender,
Uh-huh.
a willingness to let go of our ego and embrace something bigger than ourselves.
That's beautifully put.
Yeah.
And the paper concludes by urging us to view wisdom as an awesome woman, someone who commands our respect and calls us to humble ourselves in recognition of our own need.
That's such a powerful image. It takes wisdom beyond the realm of abstract ideas and brings it to life as a vibrant relational force that we can engage with and learn from.
Exactly, and that's what makes Proverbs so compelling. It presents wisdom not as a set of rules or a philosophical treatise, but as a journey, a lifelong pursuit of something truly extraordinary.
So it's less about having all the answers
Right.
and more about cultivating a certain way of being in the world, a way of approaching life with wisdom, justice, love, and awe.
You got it. It's about embracing the mystery, recognizing our limitations, and striving to live in accordance with what we believe is good and true.
Wow. We've really covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Proverbs. It's amazing how this ancient text still speaks to us today with such richness and relevance.
It really is. And one of the things that struck me most about this paper is its emphasis on the practical implications of wisdom. It's not just about head knowledge, it's about living a certain way and making choices that reflect our understanding of what's good and true.
Yeah, that's so true. And it goes back to that idea we talked about earlier, that wisdom isn't something we just acquire.
Right.
It's something we actively cultivate and embody in our lives.
Exactly. Proverbs is full of practical advice on how to live wisely, everything from managing our finances and relationships to making sound judgments and speaking with grace and truth.
Yeah, and what I find so compelling is how it connects those practical aspects of wisdom to those deeper themes of justice, righteousness, love, and awe. It's like those virtues are the foundation for a truly wise life.
It's all interconnected, isn't it? You can't truly live a wise life without cultivating those virtues. They inform our choices, guide our actions, and shape how we interact with the world around us.
And I think that's what makes this deep dive so impactful. It's not just about understanding an ancient text. It's about reflecting on how these timeless principles can guide our lives today. How can we become more just, more righteous, more loving, and more attuned to the wonder and mystery of life?
Those are great questions to ponder. And, the paper leaves us with one final provocative thought. It asks, if wisdom leads us to see the world with a sense of awe and reverence, what impact might that have on how we treat each other and the world around us?
That's such a powerful question. It challenges us to consider the broader implications of our pursuit of wisdom. It's not just about personal growth or enlightenment. It's about becoming a force for good in the world.
Precisely. And I think that's a fitting place to leave our listeners today, with that invitation to consider how their own pursuit of wisdom might ripple out and make a positive difference in the world.
I love that. So, to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to continue pondering the ideas we've explored today. Pick up a copy of Proverbs, delve into its wisdom, and let it inspire you to live a life filled with purpose, meaning, and a deep reverence for all that is.
And remember, the journey of seeking wisdom is an ongoing adventure, one that's filled with both challenges and incredible rewards. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop seeking that which is good, true, and beautiful.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into wisdom and awe. Until next time, keep seeking.